Happy Monday! Another week has started, and I hope you're heading off into a good start. I hope your weekend was great. Mine was busy. Paint, arm killed. Like, I worked out more this weekend than I probably had in, I don't know, decades. Decades. Um, Strenuous work. Strenuous. But it's all good. And that's all I really want to say about it. Um, because one day you'll see the finished prize. So there you have it. No nails. That means it was really good. Speckled glasses with paint. Really, really good it was. So winning. But today I'm going to talk about another deep situation, another deep topic, I guess you would say. And it's one that's near and dear to me. And it's actually this whole month is National Suicide Awareness Month. September 1 to 30th that's the whole month. And I wanted to talk about it last week a little bit, but I couldn't gear myself to it because, again, personally, I've experienced suicide and I know that it's hard as somebody that's left behind. Wondering what I could have done, what I should have done, what I could have said. Could I have said anything? Um, could I have done anything different, And when you stop and think about it, there's not anything that I could have done. No matter how hard I try, I could have changed that outcome. None. Um, Now, I will say that had I known he was in the mind space that he was, probably would have reached out and done more. But at that time when it happened, I didn't. So let me kind of backspace a little bit and just kind of go over that. I have a very large extended family, okay? So I have two biological brothers, I have two half brothers, and I had step siblings, four. And I've lost my two half brothers, and then I lost a step brother very, very, I want to say unexpectedly due to suicide. Nothing I ever expected. But I don't know if I didn't expect it because I wasn't aware, because he didn't live close. I don't know if I expected it because didn't expect it because, prior to that happening, like the week leading up to, I had messages on my phone from Facebook of him and I talking very regularly. I mean, very regularly. And we would have like full blown conversations via text, and he would tell me how proud he was of me, and maybe that should have been an indicator that he was reaching out because that had been something that we weren't doing, and then all of a sudden it was a big conversation. But needless to say, I didn't catch on. I didn't understand. I didn't know. And I'll never forget the call when my sister called me and told me, and how confused I felt. Like, I was hurt. I was sad. I felt bad, like I was second guessing everything about it. And it was very, very hard, You never expect your sibling, your friend, your coworker, your peer, whoever to be struggling to a point and you not know it. You don't think that that's going to be the outcome. And when it happens, you're like, what did I miss? Um, it had been an ongoing battle, like we had lost my father and then my stepmother. And when I tell you that he was attached, like, I love my dad and my stepmom, don't get me wrong. But there's that one sibling that's just like attached. That's me with my mom. I'm attached to my mom. But when we lost them, it was hard on all of us, but it hit him a lot different, I think. And I don't think that he was okay after that. I don't think that it was safe for him after that. I think that he was lost in his own thoughts. Doesn't help that we have drugs and drinking, and that also plays a part of it. And so suicide's something that I'm very, very aware of. And it took, it took a lot. And when people find out that your brother committed suicide, they're like, well, he's going to hell. And I mean, you get all the negativity, and it puts a strain on yourself. I think that it's a matter of trying to understand, like, what can I do to help that not happening again, if anything. And in education, last week I talked about educating yourself, and I knew he had mental health issues. I knew he did, but I didn't know to the extreme. Okay. So it's a research has shown, and you can go on to you can go to many websites, but if you go to the NAMI website, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, you can get a good information. But you'll see that men are at a higher risk than females for suicide, and it's a big risk, like something to the number of 4 times greater than females to have to die due to suicide. So we've got to think about that, because I think it's hard in mental health to, I'm going to say this, be a man. Because there's been this facade or this stigma or this thought process that, that's not manly. That's not how it goes, And in reality, they hide on their own, and it becomes debilitating. How about debilitating to them, and to try to process or figure out what to do. And I get that. I work with more kids than I would ever want to tell you that have had thoughts of suicide. It's unbelievable to me how much suicide comes up, and there's always a past with that, whether it's, the home life, whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, whether it's abuse, whether it's, there's no one thing that causes it. There's normally a trigger in some way. And so, for that being said, I think that's why it's important that we talk about it and we have that out there. I mean, because we're talking about something that's more prevalent than we think, I believe. If I was to ask you, do you know anybody that's committed suicide? Think about that. And I mean, it goes to high profile people all the way down to the nobodies, like it's not just one set of people. It affects everybody. Robin Williams. I mean, who would have thought, and there's more high profile cases. There's lower file. There's just all over. It's all over the board. So it's definitely one thing we need to talk about. And if you have people that are addicted to alcohol, addicted to drugs, that are struggling, that are having some mental health issues and medicated, like it's a thing, like it's one thing to know that they're taking medications and they're med compliant and doing what they need to do, but also understand that it doesn't mean that it's going to stop them from drinking or anything else. So if they add anything to that, such as alcohol or any kind of drugs, it can create a bad combination, So there's a lot that we need to be aware of. And the best thing that I can advise or suggest that you're doing is to reach out, to be there for others. I'm going to read this, okay? Annual prevalence of serious thoughts of suicide by U.S. demographic group. So 4.3% of all adults, okay, thoughts of suicide, just thoughts. 11% of young adults, 18 to 25. 17.2% of high school students. And then 47.7 for anybody that falls under lesbian, gay, bisexual, high school students, any of that. Those are some numbers, that's pretty big. And they don't have anything on youngers, okay? But I can tell you that I no longer work there. I worked in an area where there were, up to 12 people. And I probably had a solid 4 to 5 at all times that we had to keep eyes on, because there was a suicide risk there, self-harm risk. And so we really had to be aware of what's going on, because believe it or not, the littler kids, they're just as hard to identify, because they can be like, yeah, I'm good. And then all of a sudden something switch, and then you're, watching them just spiral down and listening to them just wanting to die, and it's alarming, so that doesn't give numbers on little younger kids. But just know that that's out there, and any kind of trauma, being removed from home, that's a big trauma. Moving around a lot, feeling rejected, all of those things, these littles still feel, and they are responding with the same things that we experience in adulthood, they're still having those negative thoughts, and they're still battling their own things. So, those numbers just come from, olders, but it's the reason being is that there's more statistically ways to get those because of the age and everything like that. So be aware that it does happen at all ages. This says 46% of people who die by suicide had a diagnosed mental health condition. Almost half of people that died by suicide had another mental health condition. Okay, so that's big. That's why I say, if you have somebody that's depressed or, bipolar, or having some adjustment disorders, anything, and you know that they're struggling mental health wise, educate yourself, be there for them, and watch your words. Educate yourself on how to talk to them. You don't walk up and just say, are you going to die? Don't do that. That's a no. That's not. Okay? So, like I reflected on last week, definitely be educated. Okay? Because mental health is a big deal. Suicide, big deal. Okay? Over 15%, this says about 17% of high school students say they've seriously considered. And when we say seriously considered, let's talk about that. There's people that will say, I just don't want to be alive anymore. That doesn't mean they want to die. But then there's that possibility that something will click, and they could. So let's talk to them. Let's have that, conversation. Let's have that hard deal conversation. If we're parents, check in on your kids. See how they're doing. See how they're feeling. Involve yourself in your children's life. Okay? Make sure they know they can come to you, because they need you. This world is a hard world. A lot has changed, and we can talk about other things that changed, but mental health, that bullying, that making fun of, that stuff that's happening in school, it's serious, and it's got serious ramifications. There's serious consequences happening. But a serious attempted suicide, or a seriously considered attempting suicide, let's say that Jim Bob, just a name off my head, nobody real, not a real situation. Jim Bob's at school, and he's 16. He has no desire to play football, but loves band. And he's going in the path of band, and people are making fun of him because here's this big boy that would be really good at football, but they're picking on him because he's playing, in band instead. And with that being said, little do you know that he's going home at night and thinking, okay, if I can do A, B, C, D, okay, he's getting a plan together, right? And he has his plan wrote out. Then tomorrow when he comes home, he really tries to attempt that plan. But something stops him, whether it be a person, whether it be something happened, no matter what it is, and it was stopped. That is a seriously attempted, okay? They have made the plans to do so. Therefore, that's considered a seriously considered attempting. Like that's really attempting, okay? Now, on the reverse side of that, I have those people that come in and they're like, I'm really sad, I'm really down. I don't think that everybody's attempting suicide. I don't think that everybody wants to die. But I do pay attention to the words that are coming out of their mouth. And I do ask the questions to see what I can do to be the best me for them. And if I find that there's a situation, I definitely put together a safety plan. And if it's a child, I include their parents, because the only way that we can break confidentiality is if there's a harm to themselves or somebody else. So if we're hearing stuff that is a threat to themselves, if I hear somebody saying they're making a plan, that's me making that safety plan. Okay. So what I would say is that not everybody that says, man, I just don't want to be here today, needs to be assessed. They don't need to be assessed in the same way. Ask questions, see if it's something that you should worry about. We all have our own gut feelings. We all have our own situations we should be able to evaluate. And if you're not able to, reach out for help. You can call, people in your area to have them check on another person. And that way you have that review. Okay. Here's a big number. So 90%, okay, of people that have committed suicide have experienced some symptoms of mental health throughout their course of life. Okay, so it was a lower number who actually were diagnosed with mental health issues, but up to 90% of people that have committed suicide had symptoms that would fall under some sort of category or diagnosis for help. So that's a big number. It's just one of those things that we have to think about surroundings. We have to ask questions. We have to engage. It's, to me, worrisome about the number of kids and students, because to me, that's the prime of their lives. Like, I didn't go to school and gain the most from like my actual education, to be honest. I got the most of my growth from my environmental settings. Okay. And in saying that, I can remember days where I struggled as a high schooler, just thinking, why? What am I doing here? Like, I just don't. And at that point, there were probably times that I really just wanted to die, but I could find better, positive things to come out of it. And I literally had a very little support system at that time. There was a lot going on in my personal life. But with that being said, who I had around me was important. What their words were, how they were listening, my best friend. That was all important to me, because there were days that I can remember being that down. But when I got the call about my brother, I thought, I know how scary it was to be as down as I was. I can't imagine in his mind what was going on, And I can't imagine how he was feeling. And I can't imagine the pain and hurt that he was going through. And I can't imagine the confusion and the fear. And he was not a child. He was a grown man with children of his own, a child of his own. And again, lots of mental health concerns prior to. And it's just hard because it's still happening and it's just getting worse. And we're seeing more and more of this. And I have some of the best clients, and there's times when they leave my office and I'm just like, man, I hope they're okay this week, you know? And thankfully I can reach out to them and just be like, hey, I just want to check on you and see how you're doing, you know? But I learned that because of the experience that I've been through. So what I ask of you this week is this month, this full year, like, why do we have a month? I don't know. I need you to be aware of people. Watch your loved ones. See what they're doing. Check in on them. See if they need help. Make this be something that we talk about less because it's happening less, you know? And just because you have an experience, don't think that it's not happening. You know, I don't have a number of like how many, 1 in 4 or whatever, but I know that it's a lot of people that are suffering, and it's primarily guys, and that makes me hurt for them, you know. So it's another thing. Like, I know there's some guys that watch my channel. There's guys that watch my video, and so I say to you guys on the same accord, don't be ashamed of reaching out. Don't be ashamed of talking to somebody. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you less than. It doesn't do any of that. Nothing. And you don't have to tell anybody that you're talking to a therapist or a counselor. You don't have to put it on your forehead. Nobody has to know what you're working on but you. And you only. And the important part of that whole sentence is you. So don't feel that you can't reach out. Okay? More people are out there just like you, and more people will reach out in time because it'll be easier and it'll be a common thing, you know. I can honestly tell you, in my years of doing counseling, I've had, for actual like therapy, not anger management or anything like that, parenting or anything, I've had one male client that was because he wanted to, compared to all my females. Now, I work with young boys and I work, you know, with young females. Those kids are kind of required to see me. That's not a, hey, I want to see you. Now we end up like that, you know, like, oh, let me go see Miss Diane. You know, that's how it happens. But I always tell them, when you walk out of these doors, when you walk out of this situation, remember you didn't want to see me the first time, but you left being very glad you did. So go out and find your person. Lean on them. And if the first one's not right, go to the second. And this isn't just for men, this is for anybody, but I really just want to stress that, like, men, you're not alone. You're not alone. There's many people that are out there just like you, struggling. If you are gay, if you're a lesbian, if you're bisexual, if you're trans, whatever you are, you're not alone. People are suffering with you, okay? But make a call, and reach out to somebody. I am going to have, just down at the bottom of this, you'll see that it's going to be scrolling the information for helplines. I'm going to also put it down in the description. I'm also going to link the website for, you know, just research if you want to go look at it and read it yourself. I use a lot of that, you know, these websites that I know are accredited to get my information, because to me, you guys need the best information. So that will be linked here too. But I want to close with, I'm glad you guys are all here, and I'm glad you're listening, and I hope that if you hear this and you've never heard me before and there's anything that you need to talk about, that you can reach out. Again, I am more than willing to help you get in the right direction. Okay? I hope the rest of your week is great, and I hope to be back a few times this week, and we probably will center it around this, talking about suicide, talking about, just the stigma of it, and see what we can do to open people's eyes about it. Like I told you before, not all videos are going to be for you, so I do try to title so that you're very aware of what it is, and if you do not want to watch, feel free to not watch, okay? Because if I would have gotten a video like this the day after my brother passed, I probably wouldn't have watched it, because it took me, a couple years to be like, okay, I never would have made a video about this right after he passed. But I can today, because I know without a shadow of a doubt that he's not alone. There's more people out there that are struggling. And if one person can hear this that needs it, I hope you can find strength within to make a call. And if you are a friend of somebody struggling with mental health, or even those that are just struggling with day to day right now, maybe they don't have depression, but they're having a hard time getting through a day, they're having a hard time with work, with home, whatever. Reach out and just be there and listen. Watch them, check in on them, okay? Thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications, and I'll be back. Bye, guys.